dare to look into a world where you are vulnerable, smile, while the clueless glass shows what it sees, never knowing the beauty that lies beneath.
Go to the graveyard where people throw dirt at dead people and leave them for the worms.
When I was 8 years old, my sister Ava asked me to be a character in her school project. She gave me one line, set up the camera, and hit record. What you just watched was the outcome of that project. Now, I'm not an amazing actress, but that's not the reason for my struggling in that video. As a young child, I developed a stutter, scientifically known as a childhood onset fluency disorder, which basically meant that my flow of speech was altered from someone without the disorder. In Ava's school project, the line she gave me would have taken any of you around 7 seconds to say, but it took me 13 seconds, almost double the time. Growing up, my stutter was something that I couldn't escape. Conversations were not only hard, but embarrassing. Raised in a family of 5, not to mention a loud family of 5, I could never really find my turn to talk at our family dinner table. Unlike somebody without a stutter, I couldn't interject in an ongoing conversation. In order to talk, I had to take a deep breath and forcefully push the words out, not a comfortable sensation, to say the least. Because of my inability to interject in ongoing conversations, I began raising my hand at our family dinner table. Yep, as if our dining room was a classroom, I would raise my hand, wait to be called on, and my family would eagerly wait to hear whatever minute sentence I had been holding on to for the past few minutes. This cycle was constant and irritating to not only myself, but my family. I remember some nights I would leave the table crying because I simply couldn't say what I wanted to say to my own family. But, unlike what you might think, I was not a quiet kid. Molly and quiet don't really go together. They never have. I was always opinionated, loud, and confident, even with my disorder. But this contrast of my love to talk with my inability to caused so much turmoil for young Molly. All I wanted was to be able to say what I was thinking. This is when I enrolled in speech therapy in 3rd grade. Speech therapy was the best decision I've made. I learned tips, tricks, and more about my disorder. I started sounding words out on my fingers, my arms, my legs. My saving grace, though, was music. The power of music would follow me in my coming 2 years of speech therapy and beyond. My speech therapist explained that music gave structure to my language patterns. This strategy worked, but I wanted to know more about why it worked. This is when I began my research about the psychology of music therapy, and what I've learned has changed the way I think about myself and the world around me. When listening to music, the inner ear turns vibrations into electrical signals. These signals are then carried by neurons into the brain's cerebral cortex and eventually to the auditory cortex. This is a fancy way of saying that listening to music is more than just plugging in some headphones or downloading Spotify. Our brains carry out intricate and impressive processes in order to listen to music. For somebody with a stutter, their brain's left inferior frontal gyrus and left motor cortex are impaired, both of which process speech movements. Music can be a tool to provide structural fluency to these areas. Many factors contribute to and benefit music's fluency-enhancing effects, including increased duration, intonation, as well as familiarity with a song. A study performed by the Journal of Fluency Disorders showed that singing reduced the frequency of stuttering by over 90%, most likely due to its ability to provide verbal structure. The journal then performed another study in 2003 using PET scans to examine brain activations associated with fluency-inducing and disfluent speech tasks. These tasks included singing and paced speech using a metronome. They compared the brain responses of those with a stutter and those without a stutter to these fluent and disfluent speech tasks. For both groups, voice and motor regions were significantly more active during the fluency-inducing tasks, but activation in the left hemisphere was much more robust in the stuttering group. These results suggest that there is some compensatory process in the left hemisphere that enables fluency for stutterers. Music is a tool that activates this process, explaining why music therapy is so beneficial for a stutterer's brain. My experience with music was life-changing. A simple tune allowed me to finally say what was on my mind. I began listening to more music, humming tunes around the house, and even singing at the dinner table. If I wanted the salt, I'd sing "Pass Me the Salt," or if I wanted to talk about my day, I'd sing about it. I was always surrounded by music. My parents realized I had an exceptional gift for memorizing lyrics, patterns, and numbers. This became most evident in 5th grade when the Broadway musical Hamilton was released. At the time, I knew little to nothing about US history, but the juxtaposition of history and rap fascinated me. I learned and memorized the entire soundtrack in less than a month, and my parents were shocked in my ability to recite a 2-hour and 22-minute musical. In 5th grade, I still couldn't really say a full sentence without stuttering or stalling, but I could recite Alexander Hamilton's life story in catchy tunes and phrases without missing a word. After my Hamilton phase, as I like to call it, my stutter slowly started to disappear. I continued listening to music, mostly pop and rap, and my stutter became less and less noticeable. In 6th grade, I also started writing music. I had always loved writing, as I couldn't stutter on a piece of paper, but songwriting specifically helped me say things out loud. I was not alone in this sensation. Songwriting is an outlet for many famous stutterers, including Elvis Presley, Ed Sheeran, and B.B. King. At the time, knowing that other successful individuals had stutters assured me that I too could be successful, even with my speech impediment. After 6th grade, my stutter no longer controlled my life. From a constant thing to an only under pressure thing to a never thing, I continued to grow after my stutter. Whether it was a combination of growing up, gaining confidence, or speech therapy, I know I can attribute my success in overcoming my stutter to the power of music. But this power isn't only evident in stuttering. Music therapy also serves as a tool for those with autism, ADHD, dementia, and PTSD. Music is used as a form for expression and a stimulant for those with autism. For those with dementia, music can help trigger memories of the past. Music therapy takes so many forms depending on what needs treating, which is one of the many reasons why it's such an amazing tool. Now, how can you apply what you've learned today to your life outside of this venue? Well, while working on this talk, I've realized the many forms that a stutter can take. And now that you've heard my story, you know how draining and difficult it was for me to have a stutter. But everybody has a stutter. Whether it's physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual, we all have something that limits us. And just like I overcame my stutter, you can too. But there are times, like during my childhood, where our stutters cannot be avoided. This is the time when we must develop compassion and patience to listen to each other through our stutters, even if it takes some extra time. Through it all, I hope you recognize the power and importance of music. I can tell you that growing up, I never thought I'd be able to have a fluent conversation, let alone give a TED Talk. Through hard work, practice in conversations, and music therapy, I made it onto this stage today. I want you to remember music's healing abilities are vast, and anyone can benefit from its powers. So next time you're stressed, tired, happy, or anxious, turn to music and you just might find peace. Thank you.